Hello everybody, this is Kevin with the Empirical Audiophile. What I want to speak about today is something that gets a little confusing, and in fact I was reading some comments on another YouTube channel and someone made a comment about these what are called flea powered amplifiers. They've been around forever, and someone made a comment that, yeah, if you don't mind listening to music at 60 dB sound pressure level, they're great little amps. And I was thinking, I want to do a video on this because I want people to try to understand something, that yes, when you buy an amplifier, it has to have enough power so you can get the sound pressure level that you would like. And that could be measured with a sound pressure level meter. And those you can buy off of Amazon, Radio Shack, wherever you can buy them. And they're a tool that's been used. I've had one now for over 30 plus years. And so when I'm going to talk in this video, I'm going to talk about sound pressure levels at 4 meters away. Now, some YouTube video guys have actually told you like the distance they've listened to the music at, whether it's 3 meters, 4 meters. Everything I will be talking about in this video will be dealing with sound pressure levels at 4 meters distance with the system. So when you're choosing an amplifier or integrated amplifier, like what you see here with the Simply 845, this is an SET amplifier, which puts out only about 23 watts per channel. That's all the 845 tubes put out. But that's more than enough. Now, I listen to music at 4 meters. I will even listen to it at 5 or 6 meters away. But I don't really listen any closer than 4 meters. So when I talk about sound pressure levels at that distance, people should know how many watts are you going to need to produce the sound pressure levels that I'm talking about. Now, there's a way to test this on your system. If you have a system and you really haven't tested it, a sound pressure meter would be good, but let's say you don't have one. Well, I'm going to give you some CDs or a CD that you can experiment with. Yet there's many CDs out there, okay? But I'm going to give you one that's newer, and you can stream it or you can get the CD itself. Now, the CD I'm talking about is Hans Zimmer is the one who does the music for these soundtracks. Hans Zimmer does the soundtrack for Interstellar. Okay, if you like Interstellar, one of the most famous pieces on here is the piece that's called Stay. And everybody's pretty familiar with Hans Zimmer's masterpiece with this particular music. But Hans Zimmer has a flair of making very dynamic music. So when I listen to a piece of music, I see what the dynamics is, and do I have enough power to do those dynamics? Now, another CD is Inception, right here. Inception, once again, done by Hans Zimmer. And there's 2 pieces on this Inception that's a movie soundtrack that you can test out your system with very easily. You will test out dynamics. Now, when I talk about dynamics, I'm talking about pieces that will go at 60 dB, which is quite, well, I guess we would all admit that's not very loud. That's probably nighttime listening music. You don't want to disturb the family, in the 60 dB range. And I measured it where on some of his pieces, they could start out or have passages that are only in the 60 dB, and they will go all the way up to 96 dB. So you're talking at least 26 or more dB difference of sound pressure level that the piece is putting out. And you got to make sure you have enough amplification for whatever your speakers are, which would be how efficient your speakers are. The Altex are 97.5, or you can round it off to 98 dB efficient at 1 meter, 1 watt. So you figure anything beyond that, you're going to start losing how loud it is going 4 meters. So you're going to have to constantly double your power. So if you want 98 and you want to go 3 more dB higher, you're going to have to double the power from 1 watt to 2 watts. So you got to remember that wherever you're sitting is how you have to judge how loud you listen to and what's acceptable to you. Now for me, I will play, let's say there is a piece on here called Time. It is track 12. And it's a very good piece, but it starts out very soft. And you may want to turn it up so you're at your sitting position. Mine is at 4 meters. So you can hear it in the 60 dB range because it has some soft passages that are going to be played. And as the music continues to the crescendo, it's going to get louder and louder and louder and louder. It seems like it's never going to end. This is how Hans Zimmer does his music. And it just keeps getting louder and louder, all the way up to 96 dB. You're going to be listening to it. Now, for a lot of people, this is very uncomfortable to listen to something that's over 96 dB, but that's the way it is. Otherwise, you're going to have to even turn down your system even lower than the 60 dB range to be listening to it at 12 feet away. This has to be thought about whenever you buy a speaker or buy an amp of how loud do you really want to listen to it at the distance you are sitting. Because it doesn't do you any good 1 watt, 1 meter, because you're not going to sit 1 meter away from your speakers. You got to find out how loud it's going to be at your sitting position. So if you're not prepared and you do this and you want to hear it, you're going to set it and you'll probably get things in the 60 and the 70, and that's comfortable. You'll say, oh, that's not bad. But then all of a sudden it starts going louder and louder and louder because it hit the dynamic range. And the dynamic range is what kills you or kills your speakers, where you're going to be sending so much of your wattage to the bass and it starves your treble and it blows out the tweeter because you don't have enough guts in the amplifier to provide for it. The more inefficient your speakers, the more power you're going to need for your bass and mid-range, especially your bass. So Hans Zimmer likes to make his music this way. And I imagine that if I had a Flea Power amplifier, I could not listen to it as loud as I'd like to listen to it. And the only reason I'm saying this is because a lot of times you want to play your system loud. You go to live concerts, right? Or a live venue of some sort. They don't turn it down because it's too loud. Okay, this is the way they play it. Another part on here is Mombasa. Mombasa, this is one of these pieces where I'm not sure what he's doing to produce the bass, but I bet you that bass is going down to 30 hertz on that particular piece, because he has drums, but he must have must be like the Japanese drums. He must have. I'm just guessing because I don't know exactly. But this drum, it sounds like it's at least 6 foot in diameter. And these, they're just beating these drums in that particular piece. I mean, if your system can't handle that drum, and if you're supposed to play it at a reasonable loudness so you can hear those drums, because there's several of them, and you can tell tonal wise that there's a very, very deep one that they're playing. I have a CD Taikoto, drummers of Japan, and that almost sounds like the kind of drum they're using. It's got to be a big drum that they're using on here, where the other ones are not as big, but they are big. It's a very impact of CD constantly with that dynamics of just beating those drums. Now, you're never going to get the full impact of the CD listening to it at 60 or 70 dB. You're never going to get the full impact of what Hans Zimmer has done. He's the artist. He's the one who produced it, is what I'm saying. And he has a special way probably of how you're supposed to hear it. If it was live, I imagine it would be very loud. And listening to something at 60 or 70 dB, you're not going to get that impact. The impact can be there, but you're going to lose a lot of it. So you're going to want to play it louder, so when the dynamic range goes up or sound pressure level goes up, you could experience the thrill of those drums and the impact they make. And if you're going to sit there biting your nails of, am I going to wind up blowing my speakers out? Maybe you got the wrong amp or you got the wrong speakers to handle it, because it's a very impactful piece. I have not heard a piece so impactful as Mombasa from Hans Zimmer that he's ever done quite like that. I mean, it just really is pounding. The drum is very, very low. And I bet you most people would actually have to have a subwoofer of some sort to really get how low the drum beats are getting. They probably even go lower than even 30, even down to 25 or something like that. They're that impactful, but you got to play it at a sound pressure level that becomes enjoyable to the listener. And everything has to stay in space, of course, where he has all of his instruments. And usually you will hear the big drum will be, if you're facing your speakers, it's going to be on the right-hand side. That big drum is usually going to be on the more of the right-hand side where someone's beating on that drum. But I did want to make it out that, yeah, these flea-powered amps, they may sound beautiful and good at very low sound pressure levels. But is that really what you're looking for? What you want to spend your money on? Are you going to be disappointed in the long run and take an amp maybe that you waited for years and wind up being that it's just not capable of giving you the sound pressure level that you would like to do? I mean, you have to look at it this way, especially for new people going out there. You have to look at it like a car engine. You go out there, you buy a car, it says, oh, this is a fuel injected turbo, 250 horsepower. That's more than enough horsepower for most people, okay, to get around it. No problem. But what about the guy who says, that's nice, but I like to have 350 horsepower? And then you're thinking, what are you ever going to use 350 or 375 or 400, 425 horsepower? What are you ever going to use it for? It's there when you do want to experience it. Doesn't mean you're going to experience every day of your life, but it's there when you want to experience. What does it mean to have 350 or 450 horsepower? You know, you see a lot of things about Tesla, you know, where they're throwing people in the back of the seat from G-force. You know, you're not doing that every single day, but it's there when you want it. Stereos are the same way if you want to enjoy music. It has to be there when you want it. You can't listen to everything real soft and be scared that, oh, well, I have to listen to this soft because I don't have enough power or my speakers aren't efficient. That's one thing I will admit, that even though the Simply 845 only has 23 watts, it has more more than enough room for the dynamics where it never seems to peter out. Even if the bass is literally pounding, it never seems to run out of juice or hesitates one bit to give you that enjoyment. Because there's lots of times I have listened to music and I'll turn it up because I was at the venue where they did the taping in Chicago, like Patricia Barbara. I was there. I witnessed it. I was the experience. And you're going to have to turn it up. You're going to have to be playing it in the 80 dB range if you want more of that live experience. And I'll tell you, and then after that drummer comes on and they play Black Magic Woman, for example, on this Patricia Bar. I mean, he's beating on those drums. That's what you want. You want that experience of what it felt like to be there at the venue and it's live. And that's part of being an audiophile, And for you people out there that have horn speakers, there's no reason your systems can't do that. You need that available power. Now, don't misconstrue when I say power with good, clean power or dynamic power. I mean, you could go out there and you could buy a pair of clips or JBLs or whatever, horn speakers, and you can go out there and get, let's say, a Macintosh amp that has 250 watts. But you're never going to use that 250 watts, and there's no reason to even buy it. Okay, it's just no reason. Because by the time, if you're sitting 4 meters away and that music is already going in the 90s, now for myself, I don't know about you, but that's getting loud. When you're hitting 96 dB, almost, that's really starting to get loud. And it's starting to even become a little, for me, uncomfortable. That's why when some people rate things like these Flea-powered amps, and I listened to it, and yeah, you can play it reasonably loud. Well, what's reasonably loud to you may not be reasonably loud to me. I may say, you need to turn it up. And some people may say, well, you need to turn it down. You know what I mean? That doesn't tell me anything. What tells me something is, how far away are you listening to it? What is the sound pressure level that you are listening to it at? I don't want to hear that, I'm playing music in the 80 dB range, but I'm only sitting 3 meters away. Well, add another meter onto that, and it's not in the 80 dB range. You're going to be in the lower end of the 80 dB, and it's not as loud as you think. You got to let people know, I'm listening to it at this distance, at this loudness. And the amplifier is able to project the music at me at that distance. Even if I'm at 5 meters away, it's able to project music to me at an 80 dB or louder range without running out of gas. The power you have, the quality. This is a Class A. Class A is completely different animal than AB, because all the power is there right now. It's there. If you got 23 watts, you're pushing 23 watts out of those tubes. So they're going full bore, where they're not just coasting until it's needed. So that makes a little bit of a difference when you're listening to music and you're listening to transits of the music or dynamic range. That power is there right now. It's there. So it could be used. So that's just something I wanted to bring up, that I think reviewers need to tell the consumer, what distance are you listening to it at, and what is the sound pressure level you're listening to it at. That's it for this whole thing here. And thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. I hope I helped you in case you're out there looking. Maybe I helped you a little bit, that sit in a chair at the distance, if you're at a salon, that you're going to be listening to it. Then listen to it. Does it distort? Does it sound good? Take a CD with you, something like maybe this, and say, okay, let's push it. Let's see. From the 60 all the way to 96 dB. That's 26 dB difference on how you're maybe going to be listening to that dynamic range. Let's see if the system can handle it. What you're buying can handle it. Does it sound good? Does it start distorting? Does it sound clean? Does it hurt your ears? Because some systems, as they get louder, begin to cause problems with fatigue and stuff because the distortion jumps up where there is no negative feedback on a Class A integrated amp like this one, like the Simply 845. So until next time, happy listening and thank you for watching.